Hi there. GTO strategy can feel overwhelming, right? You open up a solver and suddenly you see a mix of 30% bets, 45% checks, 12% big bets, and you're thinking, what the hell do I actually do at the table? Well, today I'm going to show you a simple, easy to use GTO flop strategy that works in most spots and helps you stop guessing at the poker table. And trust me, if you stick around until the end, you'll avoid some of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to play GTO. Let's dive in. Today, I'm breaking down a simplified GTO flop strategy that will instantly improve your decision making. I know that solvers can seem complicated, but you don't need to memorize every mix to play good poker. Instead, I'll show you a simple framework for playing different flop types, in position and out of position. By the way, if you want to study GTO in more detail, I highly recommend GTO Wizard. It's the best tool to improve your strategy, and I have a special link in the description to get you the best deal. Okay, let's get started with a brief overview of the strategy. We will break this down into 3 easy steps. 1. Categorize the flop. Identify what kind of board you're dealing with. 2. Follow the simplified betting strategy. Use a straightforward system for betting or checking. 3. Know which hands to bet and check. I'll give you examples so you never have to guess again. Let's first look at high paired boards. High paired boards favour the pre-flop raiser because the caller rarely has trips, while the raiser retains strong hands like overpairs and trips. If you're in position, bet small, 33%, and bet frequently, 70–80%. Bet hands like overpairs, top pairs, and strong backdoor draws. Check hands like low pocket pairs or total air. If you're out of position, check more often, 50–60%. When betting, use a bigger size, 66% pot, with overpairs, trips and strong draws. Let's have a look at a high paired board flop in GTO Wizard. We are in GTO Wizard and the flop I've chosen is Jack-Jack 2, and we're on the button and the villain is in the big blind. And as you can see, the action is on us. And we should bet 63% of the time and check 36% of the time. Now that's a bit less than what I said in the previous slide, however it's pretty close. Now let's have a look at why high paired boards favour the pre-flop raiser, being us. Let's have a look down here. So that's the ranges of the button, that's the ranges of the big blind. Now if we come down here and we just select trips and over pairs, that would just highlight it better that we have more trips and over pairs, especially over pairs. The big blind cannot have over pairs unless he's got no basic idea, because you should have 3 bet. The kings, the queens, or the aces. So I'm going to give a few more examples in GTO Wizard, the other boards that I'm about to explain. However, I'm not going to go into GTO Wizard for all the boards, but I suggest a good exercise for you is to go into the GTO Wizard with all the boards I'm about to show you. And what I tell you, whether to bet this much, that much, cross-reference in GTO Wizard to see if it all makes sense. The next board type we are going to look at are low paired boards. These boards are similar to high paired boards, but now both players can have trips, reducing the pre-flop raiser's advantage slightly. If you're in position, bet small, 33%, often 60–75%. Bet hands like overpairs and strong high cards with backdoor draws. Check weak hands like low pocket pairs and unconnected broadways. If you're out of position, check more often than high paired boards, 55–65%. If betting, use a bigger size, 66%, with trips, over pairs and strong draws. Now, if you are having trouble remembering all this, there is a link in the description which will take you to an easy-to-use cheat sheet on how to play each of these boards game theory optimally. Let's now move on to high unpaired boards. High card boards strongly favour the pre-flop raiser because they connect with a stronger range of top pairs and overpairs. If you're in position, bet small, 33%, very frequently 80% or more. Bet hands like top pairs, overpairs and high equity draws. Check medium strength hands like pocket 8s, 9s and 10s. If you're out of position, check the majority of the time, 65% or more. When betting, use a small size, 33%, with top pair, overpairs and strong draws. Next up, low unpaired boards. Low dry flops still slightly favour the pre-flop raiser, but allow the caller to connect with more small pairs and suited connectors. If you're in position, bet small, 33% of the pot, with overpairs, top pairs, and backdoor draws. Check high card hands that missed. If you're out of position, check more often, around about 65%. When betting, go small, 33% with overpairs, and hands that have fold equity. Moving on now to high card boards, specifically flops with 3 high cards. High card boards strongly favour the pre-flop raiser because they connect with a stronger overall range. If you're in position, bet small, 33%, and frequently 80% plus. Bet hands like top pairs, overpairs, and high equity draws. Check weaker showdown value hands like pocket 8s and 10s. If you're out of position, check most of the time, but mix in bets with top pair, overpairs, and strong draws. Boards that can be tough to play are wet dynamic boards. Dynamic boards where straight and flush draws are possible create interesting betting strategies as equities shift drastically based on the turn and river. If you're in position, bet small, 33%, with top pairs and draws. Avoid betting too much with weak made hands, like second pair. If you're out of position, check a large portion of your range. If betting, use a bigger size, 66%, with sets, strong top pairs, and nut draws. The final board type we are going to look at before we go back to GTO Wizard to practice what we have learnt in the trainer are monotone boards. On a monotone board, flushes dominate. If you are in position, you bet small, 33 or 50%, with flushes, nut blockers, and strong pairs with a spade. When out of position, you should check 70% plus of the time, only betting with the nut flush or strong top pair hands. There's a few more things I want to go over before I wrap up. One of them is in front of you now. It's GTO flop strategy blog post that I've made. It should be available maybe a week after this video goes up on YouTube, and I'll post it then. So it's probably not available if you're watching this within the first week of this posting. And it's not quite finished. Nevertheless, you should be able to get the general idea. We click on high paired, gives us examples that you've just seen in the video, and I've added some of this fancy graphics here so it's easier, but it's not finished, and it will be, like I said, in about a week or so. But yeah, you can just click easily through the board types and see how you should bet. And the next thing I want to show you is back to GTO Wizard, and I'm going to look at the trainer. And you may not be familiar with it, but just going to give a quick overview of it. Firstly, I'm not going to go too deeply into it. They have GTO Wizard drills set up, a whole bunch of them. You can practice all different scenarios, and you can also set up your own drills. Now I've set up one here, c-betting in position versus big blind single raise pot. So I'll click on that, and we can just click start drill. And I'll bring up all different types of scenarios. Now the first flop we see is what I'd consider a dynamic. Well, it's high and it's dynamic. And let's try and go back to what I went through here. And I guess it's flops with 3 high cards more than anything. And now if we're in position, should bet small, 33%, and frequently. And we should bet hands like top pairs, overpairs, and high equity draws. Check weaker showdowns like pocket 8s and 10s. With that in mind, betting small, and we do have a draw. We do have a one pair, not top pair. But nevertheless, let's bet. And we got the, I don't know if you saw that, but GTO Wizard gave us a check that it was a reasonably okay decision. Next up, looks like we have a high paired flop. And let's look at that one. And we're in position. We should bet 33% of the pot, about 70% of the time. With overpairs, top pairs, good draws, and check 30% with low pairs and air. So we have low pairs, or I'd say mid pairs. So a check here would not be too wrong, I would think. And it came up, you do that a very small percentage of the time. That is the size and the hand that was bet. But nevertheless, it was a GTO decision. Okay, this next one looks a little interesting. Yeah, I say it's high unpaired, as close as we can get to anything. And in position strategy, bet 33% of the pot, which seems to be a common theme, betting 33% of the pot. And we bet it 80% of the time. Now we should bet with over pairs, top pairs, high equity draws, and check with medium pairs. We go back, we have a gut shot and a backdoor flush draw. So I guess it's okay to bet. And again, we got the tick mark. And let's just do one more. Again, I haven't set these to anything. What I'm trying to say is it's a random flop. So interestingly, a lot of paired ones come up, which we talked about. And let's go and have a look at those. Once again, high paired and queen, queen, 5. That looks similar, almost. Oh my God, it's exactly the same. And I did not program this ahead of time. So in position, 33%, again, 70% of the time. With over pairs, top pairs, good draws. Low pairs and air. I think I might check this one, see what happens. And again, it's a tick mark, so that's okay. So let's go back and wrap it all up. Before we wrap up, I said at the beginning of this video, if you stick around until the end, you'll avoid some of the biggest mistakes people make when trying to play GTO. So if you have come this far, thank you. And please hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. And please also subscribe if you haven't already. Okay, so mistake number 1. One of the biggest leaks in many players' games is automatically c-betting every single flop without considering the board texture. Just because you were the pre-flop aggressor doesn't mean you should always fire a continuation bet. Think about it. Does the flop actually favour your range, or does it hit your opponent's calling range harder? For example, on a dry high card board like King 7-2 Rainbow, you can confidently c-bet small because it heavily favours your range as the pre-flop raiser. But on a wet dynamic board like Jack of Hearts, 10 of Hearts, 9 of Clubs, your opponent has a ton of strong hands and draws. Firing a standard c-bet here without a plan is a mistake. Mistake number 2. A lot of players get comfortable with just one bet size, usually a small one, without realising that different board textures call for different bet sizes. On dry low boards like 8, 4, 2, Rainbow, a small bet makes sense because there aren't many strong hands or draws for your opponent to continue with. You're just applying pressure and denying equity. But let's say you're on a high dynamic board like Jack of Hearts, Queen of Hearts, 10 of Clubs. Here, your opponent has a ton of potential hands, gut shots, open-enders, 2 pairs, and even sets. In these situations, you should be betting bigger, forcing your opponent to pay a premium to continue. The key is to adjust your bet sizing based on board texture and the strength of your hand. Mistake number 3. So many players put too much focus on the flop and forget that poker is a multi-street game. Just because a flop c-bet is correct doesn't mean your strategy stops there. These 3 mistakes, c-betting blindly, always betting small, and ignoring later streets, are some of the biggest leaks in beginner and intermediate players' games. But once you start recognizing board textures, using the right bet sizes, and planning your hands across multiple streets, your win rate will improve dramatically